So that whole Nortel, Avaya, two separate overlapping products, two worlds colliding, what's going to happen there? Well, Avaya officially announced it. So let's talk a little bit about the details related to that integrated roadmap. Now, I need to caveat some things. This is a 5-minute conversation, guys. There's no way you're going to be able to take away the coolness of that roadmap announcement and make it useful in your business. What I want to do here is to give you a quick little overview, hopefully to show how important it is that you go take a look at it. Later on, I'll give you a link to a website that you can go listen to Avaya's replay of that. But it's important. And then again, the big takeaway that you're going to need to go home with is to understand that you take that and apply it to what you're doing in real life. What investments you're making today, are they the right investments? Should you be rethinking some of those? And obviously your cross telecom account rep can totally handle that for you. So 5 minutes, let's talk a little bit about some of this. Let's start with unified communications. Avaya uses unified communications to define a whole massive portfolio right now. Not only does it do the traditional kind of things we think of with unified communications of 1x portal and 1x mobile and soft phone and VPN phone. Well, now it also includes the PBX itself. So Avaya Communication Manager is under the category of unified communication. So just like in our world, we had Definities, and your migration path has been for quite some time to upgrade into Avaya Communication Manager. Well, on the Nortel side, you have that same path and have had that same path. You had a Meridian, maybe an option, whatever, and you want to bring it up to what's current, and in the Nortel space, that's a CS1000. So current release is beautiful, connects SIP, it's awesome, very IP aware. So just like we went Definity to Communication Manager, Nortel goes from Meridian up to CS1000. All of that connects and ties very tightly together with Aura. Okay, with Session Manager. So we've known that for some time, we've been talking about it, and that was something that is not new or not a surprise from the roadmap, as we knew Avaya had intended to use Aura as the glue from a multi-vendor approach. Over time, I think we'll start seeing both Communication Manager and the CS1000 fade away into kind of this new thing generated purely with Avaya Aura. And we'll obviously see the feature sets associated with that, but it'll look different than it does today. So that's kind of the unified communication stuff. Aura is key, big takeaway. You need to still understand SIP, you need to know Aura. Let's talk a little bit about Contact Center though, because that's a pretty big change that is pretty different. What we need to first understand is that in the Contact Center, you have to be cool with the fact that voice is not everything. We need to be able to handle the multi-channel. We need to be able to handle how customers want to contact us. That could be instant messaging. That could be like a web chat. That could be email. That could be video. All of these things are viable means of communication, but we haven't been able to really bring them into the PBX. We've got a whole bunch of other adjuncts that kind of take those, and I handle the signaling maybe through it. Well, what we need to do is understand that we need a different protocol to make that all work. That protocol is SIP, Session Initiation Protocol, and it is more agnostic to the type of bearer path. Well, Session Manager is always good at that, but we still need a feature set that is more aware of it. In the old days, you had to go through something to get to something else. That doesn't really apply in the world of SIP. With SIP, everything is paired with each other. So I really want to take one of these and join them together. All of a sudden, it starts taking the call model of being more, originally like a call routing engine, and it turns it almost into a conference bridge. It's a very different paradigm that you look at to understand that. So big change is going from the call center of the old days to the contact center of the new days to what Avaya is calling the next generation context center. Really applying not only all these multi-channel concepts, but really blending them in with what is the context of the situation and how I want to treat that caller and that contact. Last one is messaging. Just like Octel, you want to upgrade your Octel, you go to modular messaging. Well, in the Nortel space, you go in and you start looking at Meridian Mail upgrading to CallPilot. All of those things kind of come in and join up. That's the path happens. But both of those paths are going to converge into a new product. Avaya hasn't put a name to it. It's the next generation messaging. And so look for that, but that's another big change that we're going to see. I really need you to make sure that we're checking out our website. That's probably right here. Maybe marketing's going to put it up here. I don't know. Maybe they'll do it over here. Maybe they'll do it over there. You need to go check out Avaya's announcement themselves. Then contact us to see how you can put it to real life. So check out that roadmap.
So Dave, somebody told me that there's a way to program the phone so that it automatically answers and presses somebody's button. Is that actually true? Can you do that?
Hey, Deb from Texas, how are you doing? Hey, great question. Yeah, you know, that actually comes up a lot, although it's actually not a commonly known feature. A lot of people don't even know that it exists. What you described is the ability to remotely, from the command line, your SAT terminal, to be able to issue a command that allows some phone out in your environment remotely to auto-magically go off hook onto speaker and push a speed dial. Or push a feature button. Typically what you do is you program in some kind of an auto dial into that button before you do this command so that it picks it up, pushes that. The whole point, the legitimate point of doing this is to maybe test your dial plan. Maybe you want to test some ARS changes. When we deploy new systems, usually the customer has a test plan they want you to go through to say, hey, I want you to check a local, a long distance, and an international on these 17 phones or these 5 phones, and make sure that they're taking the correct trunk routes and everything that we need to have happen in there. So again, that's great if somebody's sitting at the phone, but a lot of times in our virtual world, I don't have somebody sitting there all the time, so I want to do it remotely. So I go in, I program one of the buttons to be that phone number I want to test, and just like before where I would have used a list trace station, and then the extension number to have it kind of see what the station is doing. If I were to take that same command and put a / and then the button number, then the command will do the same thing, but it picks up that phone and pushes that button. Now the trick to the command is you have to know that the button's number you type in, is not the button that's on the phone. There's actually a couple of hidden buttons in there. So the first actual usable button, like it's usually a call appearance, is actually usually button number 6. So you have to maybe add some number to it. So if I want actually button number 5, maybe you do button number 11. So it'd be list trace station extension /11. You got to play with it, but that gives you a lot of options and a great way to remotely test things without actually being there. So check it out. So you've kind of got my opinion on the whole Avaya Nortel thing. It's probably important to understand what other people are saying. Now at Cross, we have John Norton, who is our Vice President of Sales and Marketing, and he's kind of heading up a lot of our Nortel practice. So I'm thinking we should stop in. This is a little on the fly, so we'll see what happens. But John should be in, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, there he is. Let's stop in and say hi to John. Can I borrow you for 4.5 minutes?
Slumming it all the way down in my office.
You know, it's a great day to be here. Hey, you know, we were in the content we've been talking about, the integrated roadmap, and specifically how Avaya is integrating with Nortel, and we want someone else's opinion besides mine. You know, and so I'm curious from your standpoint. You know, you're talking to customers all. What's the biggest thing on their mind right now? What are they asking? What are they concerned about?
Well, the customers that even know about the roadmap, that's the first thing. There's a good share of customers that still haven't even gotten to the roadmap, that are still just happy with the system that they have, right? But let's just assume that they know the roadmap. Okay. The next question they're asking when we're going visiting them is, what's Avaya's channel strategy?
Because it's kind of different from Nortel's, isn't it? Between Avaya and Nortel?
It is. Well, even just because there's new names. I mean, there's the Nortel Elite partner, there's the Avaya Connect Platinum partner, and what do they mean, and how do they get certified, and can they get certified in each other's products, and how do we know who's good? All of those questions are creeping around in their heads. How do we prove it? So
it's one thing for Avaya to say that they have a plan of action, but if you don't get to take part in it by purchasing it or by understanding it, it's not going to do them any good.
That's correct. That's correct.
So what's it's an interesting conversation about how Avaya classifies business partners versus how Nortel classifies business partners. Is that merging? How is that coming together? Is there going to be any commonalities between the two?
There is, and Avaya is unifying all partners under something called the Connect program, Avaya Connect, and there'll be the classic medals that Avaya customers know of, right? Okay. Avaya Platinum Partner. So Cross will continue to be Avaya Platinum Partner in support of both Avaya products and Nortel products, for example.
Interesting.
But where it lacks clarity is frankly in the fact that the Platinum Partner doesn't necessarily say that you're certified in one or the other or both.
So that raises an interesting issue of how does a customer know the individual products that people are good at or...
Well, a lot of it's going to come down to proving it, right? And communicating with customers as to what your plan is, what's your roadmap, how are you certifying yourself up, how are you preparing to enable this integrated roadmap that Avaya has put forth. It's not just what Avaya is doing with the products, but it's what the partners are going to do to embrace the merging technologies going forward, and specifically Aura.
Interesting. Now, so Avaya now has a whole bunch of new employees that are now, they used to be Nortel, whether they're AEs, SEs, all the product teams, the R&D, that's all blending together. I'm curious, what's your opinion of them? They're there, we're seeing them, we're interacting with them. What do you think?
Yeah, we're getting to know them fast and furious. They're very engaged and very brilliant people as a group. They love engaging with the customer. They are focused on applications, and they're very used to working with partners.
That's a big change that I've seen. Avaya certainly has in their strategy to move forward in being more channel-centric, but the numbers still were maybe at best 50-50. Well, it sounds like now with Nortel, with the acquisition and the new channel strategy, they've officially jumped to 85% channel.
Yes.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and it's great for companies like Cross. These partners are actively educating themselves on the same questions that customers are. Well, that is namely, who are the good partners? Who are my go-tos? Who can I trust with my customers? And so we're actively communicating with all of them.
So we had talked earlier in the content about how the Aura clearly plays into this. Maybe this is a biased question. Who do you think is going to be better at it?
Well, the customer's opinion is they're looking for partners that have the expertise in Avaya. Okay. Clearly, this is Avaya's roadmap, and the customer has definitely been, if they own Nortel, they're in a position where they can easily migrate down that path at any speed they want to, but they're thinking in general that those that are the best at integrating Avaya products and have the most expertise in doing so are the ones that are the likely choice for them moving forward.
Nice. Well, we're about running out of time, so John, I want to thank you so much for taking the time on this wonderful Friday afternoon to be part of this, and I really appreciate it. So you guys, Avaya integrated Nortel roadmap, man, it's the real deal. Check it out. So the big news, wow, Avaya and Nortel. Avaya officially announced the integrated roadmap. A lot of people are kind of surprised with the results of this. I know I was to some degree, but it does remind me back when Lucent Technologies originally bought Octel, right? The same debates were going on of, hey, is the next generation of messaging going to be Intuitiotics or is it going to be Octel? Well, it turns out it was neither. It was a combination of the two, and it was called modular messaging. So there's a lot of that going on with this roadmap. But again, a lot of people are asking me, Dave, why did they choose this here? Why did they choose there? And to me, it kind of comes down to there are trends that are happening in our industry. There are things that are going on that TDM just doesn't do well with. When we look at enterprise communications, we've already talked about how it's not just voice. We've got instant messaging. We've got chat. Well, let's not forget video. Let's not forget Twitter. Let's not forget Facebook. Let's not forget about what's coming after Twitter and Facebook, because there will be something else. How do we bring those into the contact center? How do we bring those into our enterprise? How do we leverage them? How do we handle the routing? Bottom line is, my take, TDM doesn't do it. It doesn't work for that. TDM is really good at phone calls. So all of a sudden we have defined there's a need for some additional or new protocol that can be more agnostic to the bearer paths. Well, that's SIP. Okay, that's kind of, there's no question out there. That's the answer to a lot of this agnosticness that needs to go on. Well, PBXs don't do that traditionally. They need all these adjuncts. So already I think Avaya needed to find some kind of a re-architecture of the system to help with more of a SIP-based approach. Well, that's exactly what we're seeing with this. Turns out Nortel was ahead in some areas, Avaya was ahead in others, and it really allows them to combine the two and bring together a cool unified portfolio that takes truly the best of both of them. So my opinion, it's a good thing. Keep an eye on it. Good stuff. So, you know, in this part of the countdown, I get to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And, you know, I usually pick it myself. But this time, we need to show the public what's going on behind the scenes. Because it's not just me. There's a ton of people, ton of resources, ton of technology, really cool stuff. Marshall, let's turn this all off.
Remember what happened last time, Dave?
Marshall, come on. God, here we go. This isn't that tough. Fun. This is cool stuff. Here, let's turn off the green screen. Okay, let's turn, what is this?
Okay, I can do this happen again. Give me tech support. We have another. This is the third one. We have another one now. Give me.
Check it out. Great. Another system failure. I did on Monday. Great. Well, you know what? Just bring in the new one.